But why are we losing golf balls of brands that are old, they're stuffy, they're very expensive, and they don't speak to us as the next generation of golfers? First off, but also digital natives. We're experiencing golf in new and innovative ways. There's a big mismatch here.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Wedgies podcast. I am here with Tanner. How you doing, man?
I'm doing just great. I'm doing great, and it's because my favorite band is back.
Your favorite band is back.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the Linkin Park experience. For those that don't know, Tanner does still live in the early 2000s.
Oh yeah, 100%.
His playlist has not been updated since I think
It
03.
has been updated. It has been updated. Here's the thing is, and you guys all thought you were going to listen to a golf podcast today.
Not even close.
No, it was really cool. So this was kind of the thing. It was crazy. So the day of my wedding, which is ironic, Linkin Park started this like countdown timer on YouTube out of nowhere with like no context.
Which to ask, if anybody's wondering how big of a fan of Linkin Park is Tanner Giles, on his wedding day, he knew about this going on.
So here's the thing. I did not know about it on my wedding day. I did not know about it on my wedding day because I had I didn't look at my phone. I had so many notifications and everything after, as one does,
Ashley, if you are listening, he did not know.
I've already told her that. She already knows. Good. And so I didn't know the day of. But then later I had friends say, have you seen this? And I was like, no. And then I went and checked it out. Right. And so this random timer like starts counting down and everyone's like, what's going on? Because they haven't done anything new. They haven't put out any new music in 7 years. Right. And in all honesty, like, I think most of us thought they were just done, which made a lot of, like, if that was the way that it went,
what the band went through, losing a lead singer.
Exactly.
It's
and
tough.
the way that all happened, like, of course. And so wasn't hopeful for, like, none of that was on the horizon, right? And so, or on the radar. This timer starts counting down, and everyone's like, what is this? And so it counts down from 100 hours, hits 0, and then it starts counting back up. And everyone's like, wait, what? Like, nothing happened. What happened? And so some, like, attentive fans caught that the clock flashed at, like, 9 minutes and 5 seconds. And so people are like, oh, I think it's maybe a date. So, like, September 5th. This is all happening while I'm on my honeymoon. So I know like this much of what's happening. I have friends texting me and that's it. And then all of a sudden I get an email from Ticketmaster while I'm on my honeymoon in Hawaii. That's like, here's your access code to apply for a ticket to a Linkin Park event. Like, we didn't even know what it was. And I was like, this is interesting. So I apply. I'm like, we'll see what happens. Totally. I don't even know what this is, when it, any of this stuff. Apply for the ticket. I get an email the next day that says, like, you've been accepted. And it was on the 5th. And this is like August 29th or something that I'm getting this. So it's like the next week in LA. And Ashley's a gem, dude, because she was cool with me exploring the opportunity to go to this
Oh
thing
my gosh.
on the honeymoon. and she knows how big of a fan I am. And so like I don't just do this for stuff, there's like certain things. So she was cool with it, ended up being able to get flights, stay with a buddy and made it happen. So I head out to LA for whatever this thing is, ends up being a concert, full blown concert with the announcement of like the new lineup and I was like, it'll probably be like a press announcement and they might play like a single because there was rumor that a single was coming out. Ends up being a full blown show. They announce an album, a world tour, like they're back. Not like we're coming back, they're back. Right. And so we were like, what in the world? And so they've been doing this like under the cover of night for the last few years. And they've done interviews since the announcement and they were like, we can't believe none of this leaked. Like,
incredible. That's crazy.
And so they were doing this behind the scenes the whole time and nobody had any idea. So that was really exciting and revitalizing. I think the song is sick. I'm really excited to hear what the rest of the album sounds like. How do we get here again? You asked me how I'm doing.
This is the only thing on your mind. That's how we got here.
So big last couple of days for me. I'm feeling pretty good. That's really exciting.
Totally. Well, that's awesome, man. Glad things are going well.
Didn't intend to talk about that.
In the Tanner Giles universe. But yeah, man. Well, we've got a great podcast episode for everybody
that
today.
has to do with golf.
That actually has to do with golf and what
yeah.
people tune into this podcast for. We had a chance to chat with Jordan from Odin Golf, a up-and-coming golf ball brand. He lives out in Berlin, but they're pretty U.S. market.
He's from California. They live out there. It was a fun interview, man. I'm
Great
excited
interview.
to show it and Jordan's a character, man. This is our first episode to have an explicit tag.
It might actually be.
Oh, it will, or we have to cut the episode.
Yeah,
so this is our first explicit episode.
Well, there we go. Well, Mom, don't watch this one. Skip to the next one, and we'll go forward. But no, Jordan was an awesome time, and so we had a pleasure getting to get to know him. And so I guess we'll jump into that and let everybody take it from there.
Yeah.
So I moved here 12 years ago to work for a company called Delivery Hero, which is like the DoorDash, Postmates of Europe, Asia, Latin America. So I worked there, worked in the consumer tech scene here. I started another company in software. And the cool thing about Berlin is it's a hodgepodge of international people. So it's obviously in Germany, but Germans joke that Berlin is not the real Germany because it's so international. It's very open. It's akin to San Francisco in a lot of ways, very open, very edgy. Very international. So you hear Portuguese on the street, you hear a lot of Aussies and Brits and Kiwis and Spaniards, everything in between. And that also means that there's a lot of expats that golf. So what basically happened was in the tech scene here, which is a lot of expats, I met a bunch of people who also wanted to scratch their golf itch here in Berlin, who didn't want to deal with the crud of the license stuff. And we incubated this local expat tech golf group. And 3 other people I became closer with. We were on the course one day, and we're average everyday golfers between 12s and 25. So not amazing, but enough to have some fun with, a cold hat and a schnitzel waiting for us at the other end on 19.
Right, as you know. Yeah.
Of course.
Of course.
As one would.
Yeah.
By the way, the ultimate booze mop on 19 is a schnitzel. They do very good potato salad. You can get a pretzel too, some nice pickles. It was literally a match made in heaven from a food standpoint. That alone, which is incredible. Have you guys been out to Europe at all to visit?
Yeah, I've been a few different times.
I have never been.
Yeah, no, I've been to a few of the different European countries. It's awesome out there.
Where have you been?
We just got back from Greece. We've done Switzerland, Finland, Italy, Spain, a few different.
No kidding. Where in Greece were you?
So we flew into Athens. Athens is an awesome, Athens is an interesting city because there's a lot of rich and deep history out there, but it's definitely not what you'd expect underneath the surface. But then you make it out to the islands, to the Mykonos, to those different places, and Santorini, and it's gorgeous, gorgeous country out there. Really cool, beach vibes, and it's a cool place to visit.
That's amazing. The food's incredible, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, the Euro obviously, and a lot of the different food. We don't do it quite. We don't even do their food like they do quite like they do here. So it's incredible. Yeah, we enjoyed the time visiting out there and seeing stuff, and it's been interesting to travel to these different European countries because, when we were in Finland and stuff, and it was, I don't know why, but it almost surprises me when I come across a golf course.
Yeah,
because it's just my limited worldview and my limited world knowledge is of what golf looks like here in the U.S. And I'm always like really interested to go view those golf courses in those other countries and to see what the culture is like there. You were talking earlier about the need for like a license in Germany and what that looks like. And so it's really interesting to see what it might be, what the culture like there. What does a men's association in Switzerland, in Finland look like versus what a men's association might be here? I remember when we were in Switzerland right at the bottom of where the Matterhorn is, in this little town called Zermatt. And I'm walking down the street with my wife, and all of a sudden I like dart off into a dark alley because I see an indoor golf simulator location. It's like downstairs underneath like a schnitzel shop or whatever, some kind of different thing. And I'm like, wow, this is so cool to see that the way that golf and the culture of golf that exists, locally in my little small neighborhood in Utah is also alive and thriving in a lot of these different countries around the world. And it's cool to see how golf is an international sport, not just in the way that the game is played and courses exist, but the micro cultures of golf and what those might be able to be.
I'm with you, and I think that's the amazing thing that's happening. You gave a great example that there's these rabid enthusiasts that are in Europe, and there's a ton of them in Germany, Switzerland, and Sweden, for example, and UK is obviously a hotbed. But there are like-minded enthusiasts, kind of the stuff that we're incubating and building and tinkering with. And it's because of the digital watering hole we all hang out on, which is great, and all the amazing stuff. Like, for example, you guys put out, I mean, we connected on LinkedIn. We wouldn't have connected otherwise. And that's just
Totally.
scratching the surface of walking down the dark alleys and, you know, couple cold hats deep and some fondue, and you're in a simulator before you know it.
Exactly. Well, hopefully that's where our next conversation leads, is off the Zoom, off of the podcast, and into some indoor simulator and some fondue. So that'd be awesome. Well, as you've been in Europe and you've been kind of, having these different experiences, you've been seeing different stuff. I mean, talk to us about Odin. What then led from, kind of your experiences of golf, of, okay, you're learning what golf looks like over there. What then becomes, hey, I want to go out and I want to start selling some golf balls, and kind of building that process? What does it kind of look like?
I'll take you back to that day. So the four of us were out on the course, and we're not having a great round. We're spraying marketing material all in the lake and the forest, just emptying our bags out. And we're looking at each other and we're saying, shit, this is not a fun experience, first off, but there's a nice local watering hole waiting for us on the other side. But why are we losing golf balls of brands that are old, they're stuffy, they're very expensive, and they don't speak to us as the next generation of golfers, first off, but also digital natives? We're experiencing golf in new and innovative ways. There's a big mismatch here. And the four of us had experience building companies, so we very much said, what can be solved here, not only for us, but for the everyday golfer. And we said, look, the pros are already taken care of by all the incumbent brands. Like, we don't really give a shit about the pros. We give a shit about the everyday golfer, like us, growing up playing in the trenches. Not even necessarily country clubs, but just people who grew up the rabid enthusiasts of golf, or they're new to the game, the everyday golfer, which we felt like was underserved and really the biggest part of the market. So that was the starting point.
Yeah.
And we said, we want to build, essentially, coming from the software world, a platform for the everyday golfer. So not only a place where they could get balls and gear, like incredibly high quality stuff, but as we say, reload without the guilt, like without denting your wallet, because we were literally doing that on the course. Why should you be spending 50 beans on a dozen? Like, take that $15 and go get a bloody and a breakfast burrito and get the darts you need to play. So that was kind of the impetus and the seed crystal, the idea, and then it morphed from there.
No, that's incredible, and I love to hear, the idea that you're coming from, where as we talked about in your experience with Germany, where it's like, and this is the experience historically in the U.S. of golf being a more highbrow, stuffy, and kind of a legacy game, where a lot of brands like Odin, like yourself, are actually having their inspiration and their guidance in opening up the game, but also making the game more for the type of when we play and how we play. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to go, hey, is a Pro V1 left dash going to help my game, this or that? It's like, no, it just means it's more expensive when I lose it in the trees. And being able to then say, okay, great, like what's an opportunity to play golf and to play, a golf ball that's maybe a little bit more, not just for my game in a professional sense, but also in, a wallet and an economic sense.
Oh, totally. And I mean, like, golf is like, super cool that some of the and I'm talking about the US because again, I'm unfamiliar with Europe and all that stuff. I've never been, but like some of these barriers to entry coming down, some of these walls coming down, a lot of them are on the social side, right? And on the stigma side, where like, you know, we've obviously seen an increase in like demographics that are playing that used to not so much before, and you know, more people feeling that it's okay for them to come and at least experiment. And then we've also seen a lot of people sticking around as a result. So that's been fantastic. What has not changed, in my opinion, is the cost barrier to entry to play the sport. In fact, I think it's with the increase in demand, we've seen it here locally with tee times alone. They go up every year.
Well, Jordan, maybe I can ask you a question there. So with Odin, with where you guys are building the ball, and you guys are making it more affordable and making it more accessible, with golf usually, and whether this is true or not, but usually the perception is higher cost means higher value. It's going to be better for me. It's going to be a better product. So with Odin, where you guys are saying, hey, we're going to be more affordable. You can, like you said, you can spread more marketing material. You can lose our ball a little bit easier. Because it's cheaper, it's more economical. How do you balance that message with, hey, this thing's also not made of cement. It's a good ball and it's going to be playable.
So what we did was, the other thing that we identified was the way balls and just golf stuff in general had been marketed to us was overly technical, overly complicated, triple tracked, 5 times over core, double urethane mantle up the ass. We don't fucking know what that means. We don't care. We just want to play golf and have an amazing time, right? So we said, let's kick that crud aside. Let's start with the utility of the player. So coming from a software background where it's very focused on, hey, you're building value for the customer. What are you solving for them? What's the utility? Because if you think about consumer stuff today, we're incredibly fickle. We can get things at beck and call, a car, laundry, food, whatever. And there's a million choices. And there's a million ball companies, there's a million hat companies, a million everything. So you really have to do your due diligence and come out of the gate very, very crisp. So we said, what are the different personas we want to build for? What kind of ball does a high handicapper need versus someone like us who are middle of the road or like a stick? And then we said, okay, here's the ball experience that we need to build for them. So we spent like a year testing out different prototypes, and we had friends and family, like especially really, really good golfers, because we didn't fit that bill. We had people who shit the bed the whole round, that are like high handicappers, everything in between. Tested all that out, and we said, are we providing the ultimate utility for that persona? If yes, amazing. That's our starting point. And then to answer your question, the marketing was around that utility. Here's the kind of experience you get with the ball, but like, for example, our X ball, which is $19.99, it's for a mid to high handicapper. One of the selling points is, if you're someone who donates to the lake a lot, this is probably for you. Now, that's
I love that.
That's something that we can all understand. Fuck, I'm going to go through this dozen. I may smoke a couple doobies. I'm going to have a 6-banger of Nooners. I'm cool with paying $20 because I can grok that. But also, it's a great experience. It gets the utility I need as a 22 handicap. So we were zigging while others were zagging. You don't care about the mantle. What is a mantle? It's not a fireplace. How does that have to do with my ball? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that. That was the mismatch. And our tagline: "Go balls out always." Like, go live with zest on the course. Put your nuts out on the table. Have some fun and whatever that is. Let your freak flag fly. Wear whatever you want. Play music. Have fun. But also get utility out of the brand and the product. So that was something that we were very intentional about. And then The other thing too is we wanted to make the brand very bold and edgy. So you can see our boxes back here, like paint splatter, a little bit in your face, a little edgy. So that was how that came together. And again, we said, consumers are, the bar is incredibly high. So we at least have to bring something to market that not only provides value and utility, but is also like, hey, I could vibe with that. I could dig that, right? And it's not, and again, it's not for everyone. We're not building for the big ocean. We started very, very specific on a specific everyday golfer persona, and then that also had its challenges too, which was quite fascinating.
So continuing down the marketing hole, and then I want to ask about those challenges too. Is you've talked about kind of where the idea came from, how the ball came to be, who it's for, the R&D on there. You talked a little bit about the boxes behind you and the messaging that's there. What I want to know is why Odin? Like, obviously we know what the name is from a historical sense, but how did you guys get there? What does your Odin mean to me? Like, what am I supposed to get from that?
So we're only building for the U.S. market, but I'm sitting in Berlin, and we're sitting in Berlin. I come back several times a year, because the other thing too, early on, is we built our Odin Social Club community. So we said, given we're building for the everyday golfer, we want to meet the everyday golfer where he or she's at the local munis and the local courses. So that's been a fascinating journey, which we can get into. Odin is the Nordic god of wisdom, war, love, whatever. It's a very general purpose Nordic god. If you Google Odin, there's the Marvel Odin, but there's also the Odin mythical painting, and we saw this painting of Odin, and it's Odin sitting on a big throne, and he has a massive staff in that painting. And we said, fuck, that looks like a giant putter. We started this company in Europe. Let's pay homage to the European motherland. And we wanted something that was a little bit bold, 4 letters, fit on a ball, fit great on a box, go balls out always. It was a little edgy. And that's how that came together.
I love that, man.
Yeah,
I mean, you heard it here
cool,
first.
man.
It's confirmed. Golf, the game of the gods. It's confirmed. We've got it. Lock it in. That's incredible. Well, hey, man, you mentioned some challenges that you guys have kind of run into and in creating this. I mean, I assume that, being from the tech world and kind of being there, like, what did your production background look like? Like, what did it look like to go out and to start this brand, get the golf balls, and to do something bold, like competing in an environment, that the Titleists, the Callaways, and the Bridgestones are so heavily kind of owning. What did that look like? What did that challenge and that look like for you?
There are 3 big, massive challenges that come to mind. I mean, there are hundreds. You guys know, building a business, it's 99% not glamorous. We get hit in the face all the time. Always bags under our eyes, sleepless nights. So that's just the general startup trappings that we all go through. The first one is, we said we want to build for the everyday golfer. Well, as a startup who, is still to this day champagne tastes on a beer budget, we never had a marketing budget. We've self-funded Odin ourselves. Building broad for the everyday golfer is massive, and we started quite broad, and that also meant that we had people who were incredible golfers, who are sticks, who required a certain experience from a brand, a certain ball type, or a certain way in which they associate with the brand. For that persona, they grew up playing Titleist for 30 years, for an example, or Callaway. They're used to something very specific, and they expect that with what we were doing. To the other end of the spectrum, where people who maybe just started golf or is thinking about starting golf, but have a different requirement and understanding of golf. And when you have to market to all of that spectrum, everything in between, as a startup, it just makes life a million times harder. And it's always the wisdom of like start narrow and then land and expand. I think that definitely works. You could probably argue against it, but we started broad and we had to kind of come together a little bit over time. And I think the hardest part was building for, and the second challenge, which is related to that persona, is the really, really good golfer who've been playing golf a long time. Candidly, there's still an old guard to golf. And there's a massive behavior
Definitely.
shift for golfers, especially people who've been playing a while. And it's almost like a church and state thing. I mean, if you think about on a bigger scale, the PGA and Live, does it need to be, kind of wildly, political? I don't know. I mean, you could argue maybe there's people who are very rabid about the
I don't know
PGA
what you're
Tour and
talking
they don't
about.
like
That's
the
been
Live
political
stuff.
at all.
Oh man, yeah, totally. But it's basically like I'll give you a good example. I can't tell you how many people said your ball is incredible. I love your brand, but I need to be looking down at calligraphy when I swing, or I need to go wipe my ass and then play a colored ball, because we're so meticulous about what are we wearing and what does the hat look like, and are we going to do a microfiber towel or a regular towel? Is it a caddy towel or is it a clip-on towel? Am I drinking Nooners or White Claws? We have this like ritualistic experience with golf, and it's sometimes hard to contend with that because if you're again a new brand in a sea of a million new brands, and we started during COVID, which was a mad dash from a market timing standpoint, a lot of new companies,
Totally.
challenger brands. Fuck, that makes it really hard. And as a startup with commanding no budget and basically trying to hit the pavement and sell ourselves, that was very challenging and still is 3 years in.
Yeah, that makes total sense, man. And like I said, I commend you for taking a stab at such a incredibly dense and incredibly competitive. I mean, competitive is not even necessarily the right word because it's so ingrained that the competition's almost gone. It's almost that way, and so it's really interesting to see what you guys have been able to do and to see the success that you've had in that industry and what you guys have been able to build because that's a really hard thing to do. So like we said, we can really commend you on that.
I think you mentioned 3 years, right? I think now is the absolute perfect time to be doing what you guys are doing because the demographic that you're going after is the largest growing demographic in the game of golf, especially, COVID and post-COVID, that I think is the most underserved because where I wouldn't know what the percentage is, but the vast majority of marketing dollars in the golf space go towards these legacy brands that create products that are in the hands of like PGA Tour pros. Now they make models underneath that for the, more everyday golfer, but all of the marketing is spent on pushing the best of the best. And I mean, you talked about it. Buzzwords are a huge thing in golf marketing. Every year there's a new buzzword and you see it in drivers a lot specifically, and it's all in the tech side, right? Like, we have this, and this will do this to your game. Just look at Scotty Scheffler. He's the reason, he's playing the way that he is because of like carbon twist-faced driver heads. And so, you know what I mean? And he can spin the ball like this. But at the end of the day, like, again, I wouldn't know what the percentage is, but the vast majority of golfers don't even have a swing that can put spin on a ball that even matter what type of ball you're playing, right? And that type of person and that demographic is the largest demographic in the game. They need products and they need things that are going to fit their budget, one, but two, still give them that utility for their swings and the way that they play. And like, let's face it, like, the game of golf has a lot of ups and downs. You talked about, kind of maybe having this idea on the golf course during a pour round with your buddies. Why are we spraying these balls all over the place, right? Like at the end of the day, we're there to have fun. We're paying to play the game, right? Like we go to the golf course and drop stacks to play, whereas the pros are getting it for free, right? And they're like a fraction of a percent of golfers in the world. And so what you guys are doing and that angle that you're coming at it with, to me, I think this is the perfect time to be doing that because that demographic is as big as it's ever been.
Definitely. In the through line there with your amazing points is it's also still an incredibly social proofed ecosystem. What are the pros playing? What's the best stuff on the market? What's the hot new stick that's out? You could be playing a stick from 20 years ago and probably get the same outcome, but it's wanting to have, the new stuff. It's consumer. We want to have,
Totally.
like the iPhone or an Android, or I want to have the latest, Gucci bag or whatever.
Well, and especially in the United States, like you said.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, and what are the pros playing? They're playing great. They look great. I'm watching them on TV. And then on the other side, it's what are my buddies wearing? What are they playing? And that was the insight we had, that it was the everyday golfer social proofing. That was what we wanted to productize, like that lightning in a bottle, so that things could spread. Which actually, the third challenge, I think that always keeps us up at night. So coming from the software world, where you build a piece of software, you release it, you get a very good amount of scale, decent scale right away. Margins are much different, very, very high margins, just literally software costs, maybe some marketing costs. Well, this is a piece of hardware in a sense, different margins, different overhead, different way to run the business. And if you launch this box, you don't get instant scale. It's not a build it and they will come. No one cares who we are. No one gives a shit who we are. We're nobodies. We're just starting out. And we basically decided early on, this is very uncomfortable, but we're going to build this brick by brick. Muni by muni, everyday golfer by everyday golfer, golf league by golf league. And that's what we did. And it's been hard because you don't know if it's working. Again, we're basically put everything into the business, and whatever we make, we put it back into the business. None of us cut paychecks or anything. It's a very lean operation. When you're dealing with massive war chests that have been around some 100 years, it can be a fucking bloodbath. And in fact, people who said, just when we told people we're starting a golf company, they're like, well, why do you want to do that? It's an incredibly mature market. It's filled with legacy brands that spend hundreds of millions every year on marketing, on TV. They grab all the consumers. Why do you want to do that? There's nothing there for you. And they're probably right in a lot of ways, but we said, hey, no idea is too wild. Go balls out always, right?
Always back to the ethos of the brand. I love that, man.
I mean, but it's organic, right?
Right.
Like, that's what I like about it is we had a conversation just a little bit ago, actually, with somebody talking about collaboration specifically in the golf space. And not all collaborations make sense because there needs to be, part of it needs to be organic. Like, why is 7-Eleven getting involved in golf, or why is Abercrombie & Fitch getting involved in golf? And if there's authenticity there and there's a reason to be involved, like, I think golf consumers are pretty well educated. There's a lot out there, right? And there's a lot on the technical side and stuff. And so I think it just generally attracts some of that type of consumer. The ones that aren't organic don't usually perform very well or last very long. They might go into sale rack pretty soon. You know what I'm talking about. But the fact that, you just called it out, he keeps coming back to the tagline of the company. Like, it serves to show, like, you guys are in it for the right reasons. You guys are golfers yourselves. You're trying to create something for yourself too. And obviously there's, millions of people like this, but like at the end of the day, you're passionate about it because it's you too. Right. And the fact that it keeps coming back to that tagline just shows me, like, these dudes are here, for the right reasons. They're really trying to create something that can help people, and that it's not a cash grab because the market exploded, right? And in fact, right now it's starting to stabilize a little bit post-COVID, right? And so I don't know. You pointed that out, and I thought it was kind of cool.
Well, totally. Well, Jordan, as we're kind of wrapping up here, man, I would love to hear a little bit about what's next for Odin, man. What are you guys building towards? What's kind of the next step here, and how can people get involved? And
I would say too, where can people find you?
Yeah, where can people find you and start, losing your golf balls?
Yeah.
Yeah, reload without the gill, baby.
That's it.
Website is ODIN. Yeah, there you go. Website is odin-golf.com. You can hit me up anytime at Jordan at odin-golf.com. I always love jamming and shooting the shit. Feature requests, or just talking about golf, like what we're doing here. We're on Instagram. What's next is obviously we have a product roadmap, but one big part of the brand is the community. So we do community events, mostly collaborating with different golf leagues, different brands. We do an event series called the Shindig with Derek and Dom with Sapar. I don't know if you know their Sapar podcast and Sapar. It's the red logo. They're in Minnesota, amazing guys. I was just in Minnesota a couple months ago. We did an event with them, and it's basically part of the original vision, a platform for the everyday golfer, but a platform for other brands, adjacent brands. So we don't work with Titleist, of course, but we work with a lot of other amazing challenger brands, like Stogies and Bogies, or Waggle, or Tropicana, like all these amazing people coming together doing incredible things. They come together in the community. And again, we said, we're hanging out on TikTok and Instagram, LinkedIn. Let's get everyone together. It's really, the golf is great, but it's really getting the band together. That's what we do. We come, we break bread, we have pops, we enjoy. In Minnesota, we did like a full weekend, went to the Twins game, awesome. Had a local brewery the day before. In fact, we have an event coming up. Dane, I told you about that in the Bay Area next month. I'm going to be back there called Bay Day with the Bay Area crew. If you guys want to come out, we'd love to have you. It's just, I'll send you the details. But that's what we're excited about, is the community, growing the community, but also like growing the collaborations, helping other people grow. And again, it's a brick by brick thing. We don't have $500K to do performance marketing, and nor would we want to do that. We're in it for building Odin, and just, I think the greatest delight, you guys can probably attest to this, is building something and seeing it in the world and people saying, this is a magical experience, or just, I love this. This is just great. There's no greater satisfaction than hearing that someone had dunked it for the first time with an Odin dart, and they've been playing 20 years, or awesome. Whatever the reason be, or hey, I'm working like crazy, but I came to an Odin event, had a blast. I'm sure you guys have this too. There were people like at the Minnesota event that knew each other for like 2 fucking years on Instagram, and they never met in person, but they met. It was like a long lost friend in a lot of ways. Like, it was a cathartic moment. Hey, we're coming together, for the shared love of what we're doing. So that kind of stuff, I think, is keeping us going, because again, this shit is incredibly hard, and you need like a flame to keep going. And it's not money. Maybe for some people it's money, which is great. Everyone has a way in which they build, but and that's why I think what you guys are doing is incredible, and you have incredible ambitions, and you've done incredible things. I remember the Bad Birdie campaign that you guys did, and all the other amazing things that you continue to do, and you took the plunge, which I applaud you for.
Well, we appreciate that, man. Seriously, those are some super kind words, especially coming from somebody, building something awesome and in the middle of it like yourself. And so, yeah, man, we've really appreciated this chat, and we hope that, this is the first of many. One of the things we are really excited to do with the brands that we talk to on the pod is to check back in 6 months, a year, or whatever it might be from now, and see how it's grown, see what you're going through, see what what success you've had it and stuff. So, and then obviously, yeah, we'll try and see if we can't get ourselves out to the Bay Area here
fun.
in not too
Or
long.
Germany,
Or Berlin. Maybe we just have to head out to Berlin, get our golfing license, and play a round or two. But
license, right?
we've appreciated the time, man. Seriously, it's been a blast, and we hope to talk soon.